For my learning adventure, I chose to employ context to analyze the qualitative free text comments provided by the students in their course evaluation feedback. So from where did it all start? In my prior institution, just like any other, collecting students' feedback was a standard practice at the end of an academic term. The evaluation forms had questions that can be answered using the Likert scale quantitative scores and open-ended questions. Despite the potential value of the textual responses to the open-ended questions, they were not properly analyzed in my institute. During the busiest time of the academic term, the institute used to convey reports that included the analytic results and visualization for the quantitative portion of the feedback. We had a separate section that had all the qualitative responses after anonymization and removal of any abusive language. As a teaching staff, we were supposed to review and analyze these responses on our own. Most of my colleagues were relying on manual approaches to analyze the text responses. Few departments, including mine, used the SPSS text analysis software, but the tool was a bit hard to use, which discouraged the majority to consider. For the resolution of the problem, I thought of Quantext, the simple automated text analytic tool that is designed for educators' use and doesn't require any technical capabilities. I was hoping throughout the adventure to find out if the tool is useful for the sake of analyzing the text responses of the evaluation forms. The first step that I had done was that I had looked at the recent publications that were conducted to examine the potential of the automated tools to analyzing the students' comments in feedback forums. I cited a few in my report, but the most compelling for me was a study conducted by McDonald and Moscow, the founders of Context, with 3 other researchers. The authors in this study compared the analysis results obtained from Context to the human annotations of 3 raters. The results were strongly in line, which made them conclude that Context features have an important role in assisting teaching staff with the analysis and interpretation of the students' evaluation of teaching and courses. The second step in the journey was to understand the capabilities and the features of Context. So Context is a work in progress. The tool is free and web-based, located at pilot.context.org. Context can perform all the basic text analysis tasks, including tokenization, parsing, part-of-speech tagging, and lemmatization of text. The steps to using the tools are very straightforward and simple. So the uses under investigation is the analysis of academic writing, the analysis of forum content, as well as the analysis of the qualitative responses in the feedback. For the main features, provide descriptive statistic including the number of responses, the average number of words, the average number of sentences. It also perform frequency bar charts for the top frequent terms and collocations. Additionally, it provides concordance, the KWIC text analysis, and also another visualization, a word tree visualization. The tool also provides readability indices. This is more useful in the academic writing context. We can do some customization to the results. We can add and remove the stop words, which is the words that seem relevant or irrelevant to the context. And the last thing here, or the last important feature here, we can export the results as a PDF file. For better understanding of the tool capabilities, I decided to employ more than one dataset. The first dataset was responses to a survey conducted in a university in North India. The second for a MOOC, a UBC MOOC. And the last dataset were the responses for a survey conducted for a 2 days training for the OSCE. In order to use context, you need to insert the data into Excel files. This is my first data set after preparation. You need to name one sheet Q index. Then create in it two columns. The first is for the question ID and the second for the question itself. The other worksheets have the responses for each question and the student ID. These are the responses for question 1, and if I move to the right, I'll show you the other column. This is the other column that have the student ID. In the same way, I added the responses for the rest of the questions. This is my second workbook for the second data set. This data set has only 2 questions, and the responses also are added in separate sheets. This is the last data set. It has only 1 question, and here are in the separate worksheet the responses. Notice that some cells here are empty. These are not going to be counted when we see the analysis results. After selecting my data sets and making the data preparation, I signed up in the platform and conducted the analysis. So the first step you need to do is to upload the files. Just click here, Files, and start the uploading. These are my 3 data sets. Then you need to create a new analysis. Just click on New, and here is the new analysis. And then for each analysis you need to give a name for the analysis, and you need to add the files or the file that you want to analyze. And the last step here is to run the analysis. These are all the analysis I created in the journey. Let me show you the results for the first. So this is the statistical information: how many questions, how many characters, words, sentences. For each question you will get the number of responses, the mean length, and the mean sentence per response. If you scroll a little bit down, you will find the frequency diagrams, bigrams, and trigrams. So the most frequent word here is good. 81 out of 185 responses giving, and inside that around 43% of the students are somehow satisfied with the teaching aspect. The second most frequent word here was teaching. So if you click at the term teaching itself, you should get here the trigrams and the bigrams and trigrams. If you need to explore the context, you just click on the Explore button and you will get the KWIC, which will allow you to understand how the term was used. Another way to see the context or to check the context is to click on the Visualize button. You will get a word tree for the term. These are the results for my second data set. Some of the results for the second questions I didn't find to be relevant, like could, would. These I didn't find to be relevant. So what you can do here is that you can go to the settings and add these words to the blacklist or the stop words. These are my results for the third data set. I took advantage that this data set was quite small in comparison to the other 2, and went to explore what the label option can do. So this option, you can go to the response and add a labeling for that response. I can't find the labeling I did for these comments because there is some kind of programming bug in this option. So what I found when I used the context to analyze the text responses of the qualitative portion of the feedback, that the analysis was much easier and quicker and more robust. It helped me to identify the key strengths of some aspects and also the weaknesses of the aspects. Beyond the tangible value found, I found that the tool can encourage educators to engage in the analysis process that is mainly conducted by the administrators in educational institutions. It also helped to minimize the possible human bias and the risk of reaching false conclusion. And then Thus, I think using the automated methods to analyze the qualitative portion of feedback can enhance the validity of the feedback results. So the challenges to using the current version of Quantix were the lack of a complete end-user documentation for all the features of the tool. Also, there were no demonstrations or tutorials offered to guiding how to employ the tool for the purpose. The version that I employed was a pilot or beta version, so certainly it still has several technical issues that need to be fixed. Last, the utility is web-based. This might deter the usability of the educators and the approval to integration in the institution. The one thing that I would do differently was to compare the generated results of Quantix to the manual themes and labels. This would have enabled a better evaluation of the tool capabilities. So the next step can be to iterate and evaluate the application capabilities in the real-world context. A good initial is to use the tool to analyze the informal feedback embedded in the courses. I would like also to investigate the potential of other automated text analysis tools such as Leximancer. The most important takeaway message from this learning experience that we are desperately in need for simple and accessible analytic development such as Quantix. These tools can potentially raise the awareness of the possibility of the emerging field of learning and analytics and encourage educators to analyze the data treasures at their hand.